Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Self Care in the Shitstorm. This is session 8, Grabbing a Poncho. I have really enjoyed this week. I hope that it's been encouraging and challenging and inspiring for you, and that it's helped a little bit in making you feel a sense of being seen and heard, that you've been able to develop some strategies for caring for the world while you care for yourself, and that you found a sense of community that has encouraged you as well. Now, today is grabbing a poncho, and really what I just wanted to do is leave you with a practical, tangible list of some things that really summarize what we've been talking about, ways that you can care for yourself. And these are not going to be revelatory. They're not going to be things that you probably don't already know. I'm not going to tell you something new. I'm just going to remind you of things that you've probably forgotten. So let me give you a list, and we'll just start with number one. I want you to engage and withdraw. So often we get used to being in a posture of doing, of responding, of being active. And I really want you to balance your activism with strategic inactivism. So there is a two-step dance, what I call, of engaging and withdrawing. We want to spend some of our time out in the world confronting injustice, creating, doing good things, and we also want to spend time caring for ourselves so that we can recalibrate, finding places of rest and silence and solitude and nature so that we're not always in this mode of engaging, and never tending to ourselves. Because remember, there's a depletion that happens as we care for the world. So I want you to engage and withdraw. Make sure you're doing both of those things. Two, I want you to wisely wield social media. So I often tell people, if you want to do this work for the long haul, I want you to get on social media, because at its best, I mean, we wouldn't be talking right now if social media didn't exist. We would never have found one another, and I'd be talking to myself here. But this is fantastic because we have found ourselves. And what social media does at its best is it allows us to find our tribes of affinity, to have people who may not be geographically where we are, but are like-hearted. So we find our tribes of affinity. We can become informed using social media, right? We have a mechanism for getting information that we never had before. And we can also use social media to perpetuate or disseminate anything we want to. So I want you to make sure that you're out there on social media, leveraging your circle of influence, speaking to the people you have access to. So get on social media, find your tribe of affinity, be informed about what's happening, and then perpetuate the information that you want to. But then I want you to get off social media, right? Because social media, we know at its worst, it artificially enlarges the bad news, because we will share something that we think is important for people to know, and that gets amplified by others, and they like it, and we get notifications, and they comment, and we read those, and they forward them to other people, and we start to see that same bit of bad information maybe a dozen, 20, 30, 40 times, and we multiply that by 6 or 7 things that we've shared, and all of a sudden we are so inundated with bad news that we have artificially enlarge the threats, and we don't even want to get out of bed. So I want you to get on social media so that you can find your tribe of affinity, so that you can be informed, so that you can push out important information. Then I want you to get off social media when you realize that it's becoming toxic in you, so that you can right size the bad news. Okay. Now, number 3, I want you to practice strategic levity. I want you to intentionally spend time with people and read things or watch things that make you laugh, because laughter is empowering. It's not just a defense mechanism, it's actually an offensive tool. It's a weapon, because what humor does and our ability to laugh does is says to the horrible things, yes, you're horrible, but you are not so horrible that I am not going to rise above that by having the ability to still enjoy this life. And if you start to see the joy leaking from your life, then you know that your activism is in a place where it's unhealthy, where you're not emotionally buoyant. And we want you to do that. So make sure you can take some time to laugh at the world, even if it's just gallows humor. Number 4, I want you to get out of your head. So many of us are trying to hold such a huge amount of data and stuff that our systems are not designed to hold. And I want you to do something that gets you outside of your head, because we can't solve all this in here. We can't fix it in here. So I want you to, walk, exercise, play a sport, play with your dog, with your grandchildren, sweat, allow your blood to flow and allow your body to take your focus off of your mind. I love doing high intensity cardio, for example, because in that moment, I'm not worried about the state of the world. I'm trying to keep breathing enough to stay alive. And so get into your body, and so you can get out of your head. Number 5, I want you to follow your muse. Creativity allows us to tap into our humanity and to connect to the humanity of others. It's restorative, it's enriching in ways that few other things are. So whether you paint or make music or garden or scrapbook or build things or bake, stay connected to the source of those things that inspire you. I just talked to someone and she said, I'm doing my art as activism. And that's another thing, music and the arts and writing, they're all tools that we have for expressing or speaking about the times in which we live. But you don't have to do art that's connected to activism. Just do something that you love, create in the middle of so much destruction. Number 6, take a hope inventory. We talked about the way hope is an aspirational orientation, right? It's something in the future, and it helps propel us into days we wouldn't otherwise walk into. So hope, gives us reason to see something on the horizon that helps us keep going. So it's future focused. So take a hope inventory. Make a list, a mental list or an actual list of times that you see people or organizations doing beautiful things, redemptive acts, courageous acts. Those are important for us to dwell on for a little while, so that we can realize there is reason to keep going. There is reason for me to be propelled into a day that I don't want to wake up in, because there are so many reasons to still be hopeful. And number 7, I want you to cultivate gratitude, because unlike hope, gratitude is present focus. It allows us to see what is worth celebrating right now, even if nothing changes. So that can be a tall order, as we talked about yesterday, but it's critical that you find the things that say what is good and worth celebrating right here and right now, because that is the intersection that's the most difficult to be happy right now. So cultivate that gratitude ruthlessly. And number 8, know who you aren't. So we need to have the humility to admit and respect our limits. Yes, you are a once in history, never to be repeated creation with gifts and talents and resources and experiences that no one in the history of the planet has ever had, but you're also finite. And you need to, and I need to respect the fact that compassion is a pouring out of ourselves. It's a spending of ourselves on behalf of other people. And we can't simply spend out without replenishing. So know who you aren't. Take time to step away from the fray and know that other people will take up the slack and that you don't have to save the world on your own, right? Number 9, I want you to share the load. Community, remember, is medicinal. And in our tribes of affinity, we find strength and we're lifted, and we feel like we're not carrying the weight of the world on our own. And so one of the deepest challenges that we face is loneliness. And remember, loneliness is the idea that I'm the only one who cares about what I care about. I'm the only one working on this. I'm the only one who is burdened. And that's just not true. So get in community, whether it's online community or whether it's in person, or whether it's just a couple of friends. Get with people who get you and make sure that you allow yourself to be lifted and carried by others. And number 10 is do daily maintenance and then repeat. It's easy when we have existential crises and constitutional crises to neglect the small, elemental, yet critical daily maintenance of our physical and emotional health. So we need to make those hydrating, sleep, good nutrition, exercise, time in nature, all these things. We can't just do them once and think that's going to fix us. We have to get in that pattern of regularly caring for ourselves. So make small, incremental changes. So that's the list for you for today, friends. And that's really the close of our time. I want to share a couple of things, though. You are the greatest resource that you have to make the world more compassionate, which is why self-care is not optional, right? It's critical. And so make sure that you're doing that. I share this quote from Anne Frank all the time. It's really a wonder, she writes, that I haven't dropped all my ideals because they seem so absurd and impossible to carry out. yet I keep them because in spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. And you are some of those good people. And it's good to remember that you're on the case, but so are millions and millions of others. And that's what this time has represented. So we're going to keep working to save the small world, right? In the small and the close, in the here and the now. Because we always have two things. Remember, proximity and agency. We always have proximity to pain and the ability to alleviate some of that pain. So do some of the small things, find your tangible wins, get yourself healthy, take care of you, make sure that you're relationally healthy, and then also find people who are going to carry you and lift you. Lastly, we know that quote from Fred Rogers. When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. It's a beautiful thing to realize that we can look for the helpers, but more importantly, we can be the helpers. We can be those who others look to for encouragement and allyship and for strength. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to show up in all of the places that we travel, and we're going to leverage our lives and our voices and our resources and our circle of influences to make the world more compassionate, because love is the plan, friends, and there is no plan B. So thanks for being with me during this time, and we will see you soon. Peace.